Hawaii, which you would do so you could later claim that fraudulently. The point is, we got them. And they're trying to spin this. Dr. Tarpley, thank you for joining us. We've got a break in about 3 minutes. We'll have you for 2 more segments. But why is this so important, and what do you make of the new info? Then we'll come back and get into it in detail.
Well, I think we're still in a situation where the preference of the ruling class for president in 2012 is not clear. I would not dismiss Romney at all. I think Romney is a formidable candidate for some of the worst segments of the ruling class. But since you want to start with Obama, this indeed is what I've gone through in Obama, the Postmodern Coup, published in the spring of 2008, and then Barack H. Obama, the Unauthorized Biography in particular, which is from about August of 2008. So that was
well, I just remember in 2007, you must have had articles out breaking all that was in the book, basically. I remember you...
Well, starting actually January 2008, starting between the Ohio caucus and New Hampshire when it hit me what this was. So the situation is more or less what you've said, that we've got this literary agent who points to the fact that Obama was born in Kenya, his father a Kenyan finance minister. I think that's a little bit exaggerated. And then you've got, I believe, the Secretary of State of Arizona who wants to require the authorities in Hawaii to deliver a birth certificate. I think the long and the short of that is simply you want to see the original birth certificate, right? Last April, Obama, responding to all this pressure, after Obama had claimed that there was no such thing as a long-form birth certificate, he finally produced such a long-form birth certificate, except not the original, only a copy, and that makes it impossible to analyze. But look, I think we've also got to get the big picture in this. In other words, the utility of Obama for the ruling class depends on his ability to deliver what they want. And as you're pointing out, he's a dyed-in-the-wool CIA Foundation agent, CIA, OSS family. Of course, his entire career is working for these foundations.
That's right. This confirms he is a British citizen born in Kenya at that time.
Yes, and that's all fine. But now let's also have a political judgment of all of this, which is I think the way in which the decision is actually made. All
right, stay there, and let's not forget, folks. Everything you're hearing, you can look up and document. Abercrombie, the governor of the state of Hawaii, said 2 months before Obama released the long form that he said didn't exist, said we've looked, it's not there, to a reporter. That was in the Honolulu Advertiser. I mean, they made this thing up. He's not who he says he is. Okay, we got a long way to go and a short time to get there. Webster, I know you politically want to break down the candidates. I want to do some of that in the next little segment. And then Dr. Jerome Corsi's joining us to give us his angle on this. But the magnitude of this on top of his grandmother saying he's born in Kenya, all of this, the Barry Soetoro name, one other name, giving up his U.S. citizenship to become Indonesian. I mean, why would the power structure put somebody in who they know is this compromised? I guess I answer my own question, to compromise him, but who is Barry Soetoro, a.k.a. Barack Obama? From your deep research, because you're the first person I really know of pointing this out. Who is he from your world travels?
He is a foundation operative. That is to say, he represents the viewpoint of the degenerate ruling class of this country, the financier elite, the finance capital, the bankers.
But who is he? Is he Kenyan? Is he? I mean, he has so many backgrounds. I mean, he is.
Call him cosmopolitan. In other words, he's as cosmopolitan as finance capital in the globalized era. When he said that stuff about the bitter clingers, remember the bitter clinger quote from San Francisco. He says the jobs went away 30 years ago. He forgot to say the jobs were destroyed by Paul Adolph Volcker, his great friend. And then he said the people cling to what? To religion, guns, anti-trade, and then some kind of chauvinism. So that sort of contempt is, I think, the idea. Now, here's the problem, though. Obama's intentions are as evil as can be, and his technique is clever, because instead of coming at you with a chainsaw to destroy you and cut your head off the way a reactionary Republican would, Obama does it with the death of 1,000 cuts. He does it through, dissembling, deception.
Oh, he makes Bill Clinton look honest, where he says, I don't want NDAA, but it turns out he demanded the secret provisions. Then he says, I won't sign it so opposition won't form. Then he signs it on New Year's Eve. I mean, he's something else.
So we have the argument, right, which I think has a lot of merit, that Obama actually delivers more evil, because a Republican might want more evil, but because of their ham-handed tactics, they can't deliver. But now here's the point. What's the limit of that? Obama wants evil, but can he deliver? Now, we look at what the ruling class wants now. They want two things, probably another war and certainly genocidal austerity to finance new bailouts for the banks.
And by the way, they say at the NATO summit and at the G20 that just met there at Camp David and also in Chicago that it looks like war. They're very pleased. Lieberman says looks like they might go into Syria.
This is exactly what I wanted to say. Lieberman sees Obama as inching towards war, and it's true. We had last month some small changes of personnel inside the National Security Council. Some warmongers were put in, people who are more apt to pull the trigger. And we've also got this idea...
But wait, I got to interrupt. It's not war when Obama does it.
The Washington Post today outlines a plan. We've just had this Eager Lion 2012 exercise, right? 17,000 troops, 12 countries, or maybe the other way around. But Eager Lion in Jordan was a drill for seizing control of parts of Syria. Now, the pretext that's outlined in the Washington Post today is that the planning for an invasion of Syria is going to use the pretext of al-Qaeda being there. Naturally, the al-Qaeda is there because they sent it there. But the story told to the public will be, we have to seize various parts of Syria because al-Qaeda has come in during this civil strife, and we therefore have to seize control of the nerve gas.
And that's how dumb they think we are, because as you know, Rice said 2 weeks ago, Assad stepped down or our jihadis will keep blowing stuff up.
Right. And of course, the interesting thing, I would invite people, take a look at any good account of Hitler and Czechoslovakia in 1938. Hitler was deploying his own terrorists, his SS, his Sudeten Germans, to attack police stations in Czechoslovakia. And then he turned around and said, oh, my God, the Czech government can't maintain order in Czechoslovakia. I have to invade. So this is a Hitlerian tactic. But the question now is, will Obama do that? Here's the other dimension. The October surprise. We got these reports from Israel that the decision, once again, for war has been made, but that the war will come as an October surprise in this sense, that it will be an Israeli attack in October with the idea that Obama will be forced to go along and join in and escalate the Israeli attack, because otherwise he'll be portrayed as a weakling. But now here we reach an interesting point. Once we've talked about Netanyahu as this now having seized more power in Israel than he had before, once we've mentioned Netanyahu, we better talk about Romney. Because Romney and Netanyahu are two twins, and they have been bosom buddies, the best of friends, since 1976, when they worked hand in hand, cheek by jowl, at the Boston Consulting Group. In other words, we can see a personal alliance where Romney has helped Netanyahu. Romney was giving Netanyahu advice on economics and finance. Romney was telling Netanyahu how to design more effective economic warfare against Iran, and Netanyahu was giving political advice to Romney. It is an unprecedented personal alliance in modern times of two people at or near the top of their respective governments who have this kind of relation. And it seems to me this is one of the other reasons why you've got to take Romney absolutely seriously. This was all written up in the New York Times in the first week.
No, I know, but I mean, take Romney. Bain Capital, that he still owns a lot of, has given double to Obama, and a lot of my inside Republican sources say the word is Romney may take a dive for Obama. But I respect your view and deep research on this. You think they may be thinking about removing one roll of toilet paper and putting a new one on named Mitt Romney?
Absolutely. Now, here's the thing. I know you're focused on the Bilderberger, and rightly so, right? The Bilderberg meeting here in Chantilly, this is one of the places, it's not the only one, but it's a prominent one, where this kind of a decision might be made. In other words, if the Bilderberg Group decides to throw its immense weight of finance and press and all the rest in favor of one candidate or the other.
And 4 years ago, we were the only media there at the same Chantilly event. It's 3 years in Europe, 1 year in the U.S. or Canada. They our sources have confirmed they are meeting there.
It's a rather shabby hotel. I think I've been there.
Well, I mean, it's a giant conference center. It's 5-star, but it's not. It's not as fancy as
some of the things they've had.
No, I understand.
The idea. At this,
point is, they were choosing Obama and Hillary there to finish my point.
Yeah, last time you had, Edwards, Hillary, Obama, they all went, right? They were all, trying to get the support of the Bilderberger Group. Now, this time around, I assume Obama will be there, Romney will be there, others may be there, and I think that'll be a place where you can find out. But now, I would also urge people to take a look backwards, right? I think I've done everything I could to tell the Obama story in useful time. Now, let's talk a couple of things about the Romney story. One thing is this alliance with Netanyahu. Here's the other thing. Look inside Mormonism. Look at the white stallion prophecy. Look at the white horse prophecy. This is Joseph Smith, founder of Mormonism, back in 1843. Joseph Smith ran for president.
Yeah, the Constitution's hanging by a thread, and a Mormon will save it.
Yeah. So here's the idea, that the Mormons would go to the Rockies and become a great power, and then at some point when the Constitution is hanging by a thread, the Mormons will come forward, essentially, and take over the government. Now, that white horse, according to many, according to, I think, the Baptists, they will tell you that's the apocalypse. Those are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and that is death on a pale horse. In other words, that is something you'd rather not have happen. So
Tarpley, you're invoking religion here as an anthropologist to get people to go after Romney. Why are you really against Romney?
I want people to be against the entire system. I think one of the problems we have right now is we're paying a terrible price for our failure to create an alternative against both parties, against every one of them, outside and against Republicans, reactionary Republicans, libertarian Republicans, Wall Street Democrats, centrist Democrats, all of them.
No, you're right. The entire system is owned by them.
Okay. But now, here, the Mormons, let's look at them. The thing with the Mormons, they send the kids go abroad, right, for 1.5 years of missionary work. When they come back, they've learned a foreign language. They go to work for the CIA immediately. There's a strong Mormon faction in the CIA. There's always been a Mormon faction in the FBI, right? The rule of thumb was always half the FBI was Jesuits from Fordham University, and the other half were Mormons. The Defense Department, the Scowcroft people, right? Brent Scowcroft, the angel of death from the first Bush administration.
Jack Mormon's what they'd call him.
So you have all these people. Glenn Beck, how about him? Probably the most prominent. So this is a powerful faction in government, and it's a religion that worships power, among other things.
Interesting. All right, well, let's come back in 1 minute, Tarpley. I really got you on. I got to get you back on. This is all interesting. I wanted you to recap the history of who Obama is. I mean, what does it signify that our president really was born in Kenya? I mean, it's just absolute proof on top of proof. It's like the cops digging up 20 dead bodies in your basement, but then you say you didn't kill anybody. Second hour. Okay, Webster, well, you bring up a legitimate issue of power. If Mormons are less than 0.5% of the population, they do have a giant proportion in government. Your point about Romney, I mean, do you think the globalists are thinking about putting him in?
Absolutely. That's the way the wind seems to be blowing right now, that Obama may be considered a spent force. They could say, well, Obama has given us good results, but now we want to have more savage austerity, more genocide against the American people, and we want to get back to warfare. And then that's the kind of wars they may be planning now are not the ones necessarily where Obama's going to shine, right? And in particular,